Okay, let's unpack this. You live in California, you see a shiny black spider, maybe in the garage, maybe under the patio furniture,
Mm.
and your brain just immediately screams, Black Widow. It's almost automatic.
Right, that instant reaction.
But here's the thing. Is it really a Black Widow? For this deep dive, you've got me, Mark Buzz, and we're going to try and untangle some of the myths and the actual facts about California spiders, especially those lookalikes.
And I'm Anna Buggs. I'm here to help connect some of those dots, hopefully bring a bit of clarity to what can feel like, well, a pretty tangled web of information sometimes.
Okay.
Our mission today really is to cut through that feeling of information overload you might get. We want to give you clear, practical insights. How do you actually identify these different spiders, often mistaken for black widows in California? What are the real risks involved?
And crucially, when do you actually need to pick up the phone and call for professional help?
Exactly.
This deep dive is all about giving you that precise knowledge, not just to spot them, but to really understand what you're looking at. And hey, if you find these deep dives useful, if they helped clear things up for you, please do remember to follow and like us.
Yeah, it really helps us know we're hitting the mark.
And it means more curious minds like yours can find us and join the conversation.
Okay, so let's maybe start with the baseline. The spider that causes, most of the concern, the Western black widow.
Right. The classic. When people in California talk about black widows, this is almost always the one they mean. And they are super common across the state. So what are those key features we should look for, according to our sources?
The identifying traits are actually pretty specific. You're looking for that glossy, almost patent leather black body.
Okay.
And then the really unmistakable sign, that bright red hourglass shape right on the underside of its abdomen. You won't always see it easily, but it's the definitive mark.
And where do they hang out?
Usually in places that are, well, undisturbed. Think garages, sheds, crawl spaces.
Underneath things.
Exactly. Wood piles are a classic spot. Under patio furniture and cluttered corners of the yard, they like quiet, dark spots to build their messy, irregular webs.
And that's precisely where the fear factor kicks in, isn't it?
Yeah.
You spot any shiny black spider in one of those places, and your mind just leaps.
To the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Understandably.
But our source makes a really critical point right at the start. Not every scary-looking spider, not even every shiny black one, is a black widow.
That's right. There are many species that look incredibly similar, and they often live in the exact same environments. They coexist.
It's fascinating how just a couple of visual cues, shiny black, can trigger such a strong assumption.
It really is. And it often leads us to mistake relatively harmless spiders for something much more concerning. A core insight from our source material is that, while yeah, some California spiders do look like black widows, they're generally far less harmful.
Like which ones?
Well, think brown widows, false black widows, even things like wolf spiders or orb weavers sometimes get lumped in. And these spiders, even if they look a bit intimidating, they rarely need professional pest control. Often it's just about knowing what you're actually seeing. It's misplaced fear a lot of the time.
That is a huge relief, I bet, for a lot of people listening. It's good to know that while, yes, a bite from a mature female black widow, that can cause significant pain and cramping because of its potent neurotoxin.
It targets the nervous system specifically.
Right. But many of the lookalikes just don't pack the same punch.
Precisely. And knowing those differences, that can save you a lot of unnecessary worry, maybe even unnecessary expense calling someone out.
So let's dive into these imposters then. This is where it gets really practical for identification. What are the specifics? How do we tell them apart?
Okay, first up, let's talk about the brown widow spider. Now, this one is a close relative. It's in the same Latrodectus genus as the black widow.
So like cousins, scientifically speaking.
Pretty much, yeah. Think of them like that.
And you mentioned finding them more in Southern California, like San Diego, LA.
That's right, they're quite common there. Appearance-wise, instead of that deep black and bright red, the brown widow is, well, brown, or maybe a dark tan.
Okay.
And its hourglass mark is different too. It's usually more of an orange or maybe a yellowish red, and sometimes less defined than the black widows.
And habitat, same places.
Very similar spots, which definitely adds to the confusion. Wood piles, under patio chairs, in garages. They like those same sheltered locations.
Okay, so if they're closely related, does that mean their bite is just as bad? That seems like the logical assumption.
It's a great question, and it highlights a really important distinction. Their venom is chemically similar. However, a brown widow bite very rarely leads to serious medical issues or requires antivenom.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Well, there are a couple of factors. Brown widows tend to be maybe a bit more timid, less aggressive than black widows. And even if they do bite defensively, the amount of venom they inject is often significantly less, or perhaps it's just not quite as potent in its effect on humans. So while it can cause some localized pain or redness, it typically doesn't lead to those severe body-wide symptoms you can get from a black widow.
That's a critical difference.
Yeah.
Really good to know. Okay, what about the spiders that people swear are black widows, but just aren't related in the same way?
You're probably thinking of the false black widow spiders, sometimes called the noble false widow. These get mixed up all the time.
Why is that?
Well, they belong to the same broader spider family, the Theridiidae, so they share some general characteristics, similar body shapes. They're often black or very dark.
Right, so you see
Right.
black, roundish body, maybe a similar web.
Exactly. But here's the absolute key distinguishing feature. They do not have that red hourglass marking on the underside. None at all.
Okay, that's the dead giveaway then. No hourglass, not a black widow.
Pretty much. You'll often find them in dark corners, crevices, sometimes even inside the house, a bit like a common house spider. Yeah.
And their bite. Any danger there?
Nope, not considered dangerous. A bite might cause some mild discomfort, maybe a bit of swelling, kind of like a bee sting for some people, but nothing serious. More of a nuisance, really.
Gotcha. Okay, let's tackle the big one in terms of fear factor.
Oh.
The brown recluse spider. This spider generates so much anxiety you hear horror stories. Is that fear justified, especially for us here in California?
This is such a critical point to get across. Yes, the brown recluse is a medically significant spider in some parts of the United States because its bite can, in some cases, cause necrotic lesions, tissue damage.
Right, those scary pictures you see online.
Exactly. However, and this is the absolute crucial fact for anyone listening in California, the brown recluse is not native to California.
Not at all.
Confirmed sightings are incredibly rare. Experts like Rick Vetter at UC Riverside have done extensive work debunking supposed sightings here. If you think you've seen a brown recluse in California, the chances are overwhelmingly high that it's actually a different harmless brown spider.
Wow. So that widespread fear in California is largely misplaced.
Almost entirely. Knowing where a species actually lives, its native range, that can save you so much unnecessary worry.
That's a massive relief. So what do they look like, just so people know what they're not seeing?
They have a very distinctive violin or fiddle shape marking on their cephalothorax, the front part of their body.
Okay.
And they don't build messy cobwebs like widow spiders. They're hunters, more solitary. Different family, different venom type. Altogether, it's cytotoxic, affecting tissue rather than neurotoxic like the widows. But again, the chances of encountering one in California are virtually zero.
Okay, moving on. What about something maybe a bit bigger, faster? Wolf spiders.
Ah, yes. Wolf spiders. These can be quite large, often hairy, usually brown or gray with some patterns maybe.
And they move quick.
Very quick. You usually see them running across the ground or floors because they don't build webs to catch prey. They actively hunt.
Oh.
They are not related to black widows. Definitely not in the Latrodectus genus. No red hourglass.
I can totally see why people might get spooked, though. You see something big and hairy dart across the garage floor.
Oh, absolutely. Their size and speed are definitely startling. But again, the key things are their appearance, hairy, patterned, no hourglass, and their behavior, ground hunters, no web. Despite looking intimidating, they are not dangerous to humans. Their bite might be mechanically painful just due to size, but the venom isn't a concern.
Right. Okay, one more common one. The orb weavers. These are the ones that make those beautiful webs, right?
Exactly. If you've walked through your garden in the morning and seen a big, round, almost perfectly geometric web, maybe glistening with dew, that's likely an orb weaver.
They can be pretty colorful, too, sometimes.
They can. Some have bright colors, stripes, interesting patterns. They do make egg sacs, which can hatch into dozens of tiny spiderlings, but those are usually tucked away, maybe on a leaf or under an eave.
And threat level.
Minimal to none for humans. They are not related to black widows. Their venom is mild, really only effective on their insect prey. It's not considered harmful to people at all.
So, looking at all these, it really boils down to the fact that a lot of spiders get a bad rap just based on looks or maybe size.
It really does. So much unwarranted fear comes from just not knowing what you're seeing, rather than any actual threat. Knowledge is key here.
Which brings us to a really practical and maybe serious point. What do you actually do if you think you have been bitten, especially by something you suspect might be a widow?
Right, because despite all this identification knowledge, bites can still happen. Our source gives a very strong recommendation here. If you suspect you've been bitten by a widow spider, especially a black widow, you should seek medical attention right away. Don't wait and see.
Why the urgency?
Because bites from the mature females, as we mentioned, contain the most potent neurotoxin. This can lead to a condition called latrodectism symptoms like severe muscle cramping, pain spreading from the bite site, nausea, sweating. It can be quite intense.
And it's mainly the females we worry about.
Yes. The male black widow is much smaller, lighter in color, and rarely bites humans. Its fangs might not even be able to penetrate skin effectively. It's the larger, mature female with the significant venom load that's the concern.
And I remember reading that kids or older adults might react more severely.
That's often the case, yes. They might be more likely to need closer medical observation, potentially even antivenom, although antivenom use is much more specific now than it used to be.
But the bottom line is, even though black widow bites aren't often fatal these days because of medical care,
Right. Fatalities are very rare now.
they should still be treated seriously and promptly. Get checked out.
Absolutely. Prompt medical attention is crucial for managing the pain and symptoms and preventing any potential, though rare, complications. Don't underestimate how unpleasant it can be.
Okay, so we've armed ourselves with a lot of knowledge about telling these spiders apart, which is really empowering. But let's be honest, sometimes you just don't want to get close enough to check for an hourglass, right?
Understandable.
When does it become less about DIY identification and more about calling in the professionals?
Well, the source puts it pretty bluntly. Don't play guessing games with spiders, especially if you're finding them regularly inside your home or in areas where kids or pets play. If you're consistently seeing spiders that concern you and you're not comfortable dealing with them yourself,
Or you just want certainty.
exactly, then it's probably time to call for expert help. It's always better to err on the side of caution in those situations.
And for people listening in California who find themselves in that boat, our source mentions that there are reputable pest control companies, using Simple Pest Management as an example, that offer safe and effective pest management services across areas like Southern California.
Right. Their trained technicians know what to look for. They can inspect your property, identify the species correctly, whether it's black widows, false widows, brown widows, or, some other creepy crawler. And they can handle the safe removal and treatment. They know the common hiding spots, those wood piles, sheds, garages, under eaves, weep screeds on houses.
So they do the risky part for you.
Precisely. It gives you peace of mind. These services often cover large regions. Our source mentions Simple Pest Management serves places like San Diego, South Riverside, even up to Sacramento and West Placer County.
And they often come with guarantees, right? Like a bug-free guarantee.
Many reputable companies do, yes. The source highlights that this particular company, founded by Ian Chiu, really focuses on being customer-focused, ensuring family well-being, and just providing effective solutions. Their whole motto is apparently the answer is simple.
And sometimes they have offers too. I think the source mentioned something like a first service deal for new customers.
It did mention a specific offer, like a $97 first service deal, though it noted it was limited time and required a service agreement. Point being, professional help is accessible.
So the advice is basically, if you're concerned, contact a professional service.
Definitely. They encourage you to reach out, schedule an inspection, and get that expert assessment to keep your home spider-free.
Okay, so here's a really interesting takeaway for you listening. Not every shiny black spider is out to get you. Knowing the difference, having the facts, that's your key to peace of mind. What this all means for you is that you can replace that knee-jerk fear with actual knowledge. And you know that if you do have unwelcome eight-legged guests that are a genuine concern, effective professional help is available.
And stepping back a bit, this whole process of distinguishing fear from fact, it isn't just about spiders, is it? It really raises an important question. What other common fears, what other anxieties in our lives could maybe be lessened or managed better just by taking a deep dive into the actual evidence?
That's a great point. A powerful way to maybe reclaim some peace of mind across the board.
Yeah.
And speaking of getting clear information and effective solutions, if you want to learn more about safe pest management practices, maybe see what companies like Simple Pest Management are up to, you can follow them on their social media channels. Good way to stay informed.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive.
Until next time, stay curious.